Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching this week's video. Hey y'all, it's me again. None other than Patrice Elberry, aka the Tax Cop. Y'all, I'm gonna tell you, this week I caught it. I don't know when I come in and I go to record when my microphone is not in tune, but I caught it this time. And so hopefully this sounds well. Hopefully this breaks things down as we're getting ready to wrap up the research and development thing as best as I can. Y'all, I'm still doing my research. Y'all see how I threw that in there? I'm still doing my research on this whole research and development topic to determine who can and who can't. Now, we already identified in a few weeks ago, there are some industries and there's some certain business practices that don't qualify. For instance, sales, us marketing, us doing a test of A or B of a product. That's not going to work, right? To try to get that type of feedback. We're not going to get a credit for that. Right? Because a lot of us are going out and put promotions. Hey, I'm going to sell this course. I'm going to sell this ad versus that. That is still market and research, right? Every business, as I told y'all, is doing some sort of research and development in their business. Some way, shape, or form. Let me try this process. Let me try this software. Let me see if this works. Let me see if it doesn't. Let me adjust my workflow. Let me add this team member into the process. Let me add this ingredient to the food. Let me see if this works better when I'm testing my prototypes. All of that, right? But the biggest thing that is going to kind of jump out at people is this. As an accountant, I'm going to have to tell y'all, you're going to have to document whatever it is you're doing. Now, there are some industries that we said that just don't fit, right? That just won't qualify. And I told y'all why they won't qualify. Some of us don't have them heavy lobbying dollars, right? So you can't be like, oh, this brand of t-shirt is better than this brand of t-shirt. Got this, so like, right? It's not going to work. However, I do want you to remember the following. I want you to remember that the IRS, in their whole thought process behind this research and development credit, is focusing on the process of experimentation. What does that mean? Well, we're looking for experimentation to create or improve a product, a process, a formula, or software. This can happen in several different fields, right? We could be in a construction industry and be like, yo, I got this whole new type of product that will work better than this prototype of product, right? We could be in agriculture where we're coming up with a whole new way to leverage technology and being able to do stuff in farming and agriculture. We could come up in the food production. I'm gonna leave that one alone because that's kind of touchy, right? Because I've seen some stuff on the internet that I'm like, and I'm not having nobody who be like, Patrice, we want real food versus GMO food. Y'all, I want real food too. In fact, I'm gonna eat as soon as I finish recording this. And I need it to be tasty. All right, because y'all know I be liking the snacks. I would prefer they be snacks that I know where they came from. Not necessarily always out of a package. Even though, y'all, these little made good snacks, these little granola and these things right here are tasty. This is not an advertisement for them, but if you need something to grab and go, because it's got granola and some other stuff, I'm not saying it's the healthiest. I'm just saying it's convenient and they tasty. Needless to say, when we talking about research and development, it's not just tech. It's not just pharmaceutical, but it is about documentation because the IRS, when they're trying to disallow or try to get justification, because I'm not saying they always going after stuff, right? Because what we do over here is help you audit-proof your business in your life, right? Register trademark, audit-proof your business in your life. There is an audit technique guide that they will use. So if a revenue officer is out asking you questions or sends you a notice and they're like, hey, we disallowing this expenses unless you can provide. Are we going to disallow this credit unless you can provide the support? I want you to be mindful above all else that these are the things you need to be documenting. I need you to have project notes and meetings. We talked about this. This is who was here. This is what we said. We're going to do the protocol from this. It'll be on trial from this time to this time. I need that stuff documented. And a lot of us are actually doing Loom recordings or Zoom recordings or Vimeo recordings, and we have some of this stuff back here, and people will be like, roll the tape. Just make sure, because I'm not an attorney. Make sure that all people in the meeting are aware that a recording is being done, because you don't want no miss. Okay? Design drawings and prototypes. If we got CAD files, if we got sketches, if we got blueprints, if you're like me and have a remarkable and there's a way to draw, even though my children be drawing on it more than me, I'm not an artiste, okay? But if you got sketches and stuff like that, and back in the day people would do this on napkins and stuff, hold that, scan that, make sure you have it. Certain formula, this, that, and the other, make sure you have that stuff documented so that without and the date, put the date on that thing, okay? Test results and trials, lab reports, field test logs, quality control records. Now y'all see how we getting more into this is this, and this was the outcome of this, and we tried it this many times, or we talked to this many people. That documentation. The employee time tracking. If you don't have a time tracking system, get you one. Make sure your employees are time tracking so that you can be like, this person worked on this project that was related to this research and development function during this period of time. Because remember, we can deduct those employee expenses. Expense records, receipts, invoices, payroll, records for staff directly involved. That's just a good business practice. I don't care if you try to get a credit or not. Y'all need to keep that stuff. Make sure it cross-references back. Keep them statements. That's going to help you if somebody ever asks exactly what did you buy? Exactly where did you go? You went to Costco and got, What account did you use? You use Amazon? Was it on your personal or your business? What did you go get them receipts? Okay? And then version history, code commits, version control logs, or product revision notes. We go through stuff, and when I tried this is what happened. And then I did this protocol, I went through this workflow, and I got this error message. Okay, I don't like that. This is what I want to do. Test it again, and y'all show me what happens. This is one of the things we do when we do in my firm, when we do our SOPs. We do use software for that, right? In fact, we use Scribe software to capture the clicks to make sure stuff works and flows the way we need it to, and then we can adjust it the way we. That's not the intent. That's not the intention I wanted. I'm actually going through that personally in processes and procedures with some softwares and workflows currently on the accounting side of my business, and have been doing it all summer long, testing different things on the tax side of the business, trying to make sure processes and flows work. Now, am I going to be able to necessarily take the research and development credit? No. Based on what the criteria is and what it requires me to do under both of those code sections, section 174 and section 41 of the IRS code, right? I don't necessarily meet the criteria for the code, but does that mean, now hear me out, does that mean that just because I don't get to leverage that credit, does that mean that I don't have any business expenses that I can actually leverage? I can. There's still I just don't get that credit, right? And remember, the biggest thing with that credit is, are we amortizing it over a certain period of time? Are we able to actually expense it in the year we incurred it? I told y'all the big boys know what they getting ready to do. It's a lot of push of bringing a lot of stuff back on soil. Could y'all imagine, and I don't know how many people paid attention to this, but recently Apple stock price went up based on announcements that they made happening in the U.S., where they're going to bring stuff. I seen a facility where they're talking about where they're going to build. That's going to be a lot of groundbreaking. That's going to be a lot of setting up. That's going to be a lot of trials and tribulations. That's going to be a lot of testing, right? That's going to be a lot of stuff coming into the manufacturing space. And 2 weeks ago, we talked about what the manufacturing community and their association was talking about. Bringing stuff in. That's going. I'm not saying, but I'm saying, okay? Even if you don't get the credit, you can invest in somebody who is getting the credit and get you some money some other way, right? There's ways to make money. Needless to say, but the biggest thing is, in your business, does it mean that just because you can't get this credit, or in your livelihood, because mainly I'm telling you this is for businesses, if you can't get this credit, does it mean that the expense that's associated with it that you don't get to deduct as an expense? No, it does not. It goes back to, I need you to have good records. I need you to be able to be documenting certain things and having these discussions, because there may be ways where we can leverage it. I told you, I have a couple of clients where I know some things that they're doing. They're putting stuff in different iterations, and we're trying to figure out how we can leverage this credit as well on their taxes for their business. And some angles I'm going to be able to. In some cases, I'm not going to be able to touch it. But I'm gracious enough that I'm able to go through and be aware of it and have my ear to the street and look at tax notes, Thomas Reuters, the AICPA breakdown of tax cases and tax laws, reading stuff and say, okay, what was rejected, what was not, what would IRS go for, what they want, and I will look at the IRS audit tax guide to see what kind of tests will they be doing to say yes or no. Will this fly? Will this not fly? Okay, and so I think for me, that's the biggest takeaway. The biggest takeaway is, if you're trying to justify us using this, we gotta bring the receipts, baby, because they can come and ask us. And just because we can't take the credit doesn't mean that we lose the expense. I'm gonna say that again. Just because we can't take the credit doesn't mean that we may lose the expense, because there may be stuff in your business already, like you're already paying employees. You already are buying software. You are already on the clock doing stuff, and that's your hours. So you're getting some of those expenses. You're just not getting this tax credit. But you are able to leverage that business expense as an expense to get you to the bottom of the line as to whether or not your business is in profit for tax purposes or at a loss for tax purposes. And I do say for tax purposes, because just because your financial statements say one thing doesn't mean for tax purposes it's going to stay the same. Certain things we able to deduct at certain price points, and certain things we not. Jumps out in my head. Meals. We can't take entertainment. You have entertainment on the expense. I didn't tell you couldn't do entertainment. I'm telling you, for tax purposes, I can't deduct entertainment. And in meals, I can't deduct 100% currently, right? I can only take a 50% deduction for meals. But on financial statements, it's giving me 100% deduction to get to the bottom line. Things like that, right? So certain tax rules and how it shows up doesn't mean that it's the same thing, and doesn't mean it's disallowed as an expense altogether. I just want us to know that we can't just be out here saying, I got a research and development credit. There's criteria to this. There's rules and regulations to this. And we want to build our case before the people come and knocking and be like, or send a letter. Because they don't just come knocking first. I'll tell y'all that. They send a letter. You don't want them to come send a letter and be like, we're disallowing this much in this credit. What? But sir, I was researching and I was development. And they'll be like, that's nice. You're not getting this credit though. And then you all in an uproar for it. Okay? So I think that's my biggest takeaway. That does not mean your girl's mind is not to the grind on it. I know this is a kind of boring topic compared to some others. It's intriguing to me, and I will be taking more courses on it. It is a very intriguing area, because I'm like, how is this going to develop? Just as I look at things twofold, I look at it from the accounting and tax side, and I look at it as into some businesses that I invest in, and wondering how it's going to show up on their financial statements. What is that going to do? How is that going to make them profitable? Those type of things. So I'm looking at it from, I done got in my whole nerd bag on two different levels, and kind of wondering how this will work. But I know the biggest thing is I can see it being a very leveraged, for a big corporation, I can see it being very leveraged, because there is a lot that goes into R&D. And the other thing that triggered it for me is where I live at. There's a research and development center being set up. And I'm like, well, what are they going to do? It's like a remote, like just a building of just different locations for R&D. And so I'm like, well, how is that going to go? And I've just been intrigued since they announced it was going up, and I've watched them build it, and it's not finished yet. They're cutting down more trees. I'm still like, well, how are people going to use these? What I'm going to be watching how this develops and how people leverage these areas, because I'm pretty sure if they're building a flex, and that's what it's called, a flex R&D location, then this can't be the only place where they're building these flex R&D locations. There's got to be in other places, and maybe we haven't been paying attention as much. And so that's really what triggered this for me. I'm like, flex R&D, like what's happening over here? What are people gonna be doing? And that's really what got the ball to rolling for me, to really being like, what? And it looks like when you go to the shopping centers and they have salon suites, it's like that. That's what it looks like to me right now, but I don't know. And so I'll be doing more research into that as well. All right, so that's all I got for you this week. I have no idea what the topic is going to be next week. I do know that we are heavy into our pre extension tax season. People have done pretty good. We worked through our pipeline. We got what we got going on. People are still maneuvering through it. If you have not filed, it's still time to file. That don't mean you got to come to us. But if you still like, hey, I got to file my taxes, now's a good time to get them taxes filed. Don't wait until September 15th if you're a pass-through entity. That's my S corporations and my partnerships. And don't wait till October 15th if you are my individual C corporations. I will say this as well, because I do see what's going on. The current commissioner of the IRS, the talks of when are they going to really announce the date for when tax season is going to open up in 2026. And yes, I'm already in 2026, because certain stuff it goes away in 2025. And I'm like, what's going to happen? And I'm taking training and trying to stay in the updates of all this one big beautiful bill stuff that takes place in 2026 for most of it. They haven't come to a decision as to when it's going to start. It's rumors, but who knows? Anything could change. Y'all be watching the news. Y'all see them tweets. It ain't just me. Stuff can switch. Depends on how people wake up that day. But that's all I got for you this week. Don't know what we're talking about ahead of time next week. I'm going to let the spirit move me, y'all. And I'll come back with something that, even though I know this isn't for everyone, I pray that you got something in here that kept you thinking about, oh, it doesn't matter who I am. I got to make sure I have my documentation and my support just in case the people be coming and knocking. And if there's anything that needs to be adjusted or you have questions about, please don't hesitate to reach out to ask us. And if we don't know, we'll research it. And if we do know, we'll share either in a weekly video, we'll ask you to do a paid consult, or we'll give you a response real quick. But know that this is a safe space for you to be able to ask your questions so we can talk about it, break it down, get it in palatable pieces so that you can be able to be armed in this area of your life and be able to audit-proof not just your business, but to audit-proof your life. Until next week, I gotta get my snack. I'm out, y'all.